comes to choosing an amp for your bedroom, there are so many digital and solid-state options available that it is pretty nuts what you can get. However, you can also still get a valve amp that is suitable for the bedroom. And two such options are these two, the Blackstar HT5R and the Blackstar HT1R. But which one is better for you? The small, extremely compact 1-watt version, or the slightly bigger, slightly heavier, slightly more rock and roll 5-watt version? Well, I'm going to help you choose by going through the 10 features that every small bedroom amplifier should have. When looking for a bedroom amp, you should be looking for something that has a low wattage. Take away all the 150 watts, even the 40s and the 20s. They could be just too loud. The HT1R is 1 watt. The HT5R is 5 watts. But you can have the power reduction on this, which takes it to 0.5 watts, which is half a watt less than the 1 watt. So this is what that sounds like. Here's the HT5 in 5-watt mode. Now I'm changing nothing except switching it over to 0.5 mode. And I can still talk at this volume, so that's me talking. And I can't talk and play at the same time, it turns out, but that's what it sounds like when I talk. Compared to the 5-watt mode, you can't hear me at all, really. So I can't talk and at the same time. Playing guitar at home can be super frustrating when even the lowest setting on an amplifier is too loud and could wake up a family member or a roommate. So, any decent home amp has to have a silent playing mode. Both of these amps have headphone sockets, which, when you plug in a cable, will turn off the internal speaker. So you can play with your headphones on, listening to your electric guitar, whilst the outside world just hears your acoustic strumming. When I had my first bedroom amp, I used it for bedroom playing and practice with my friends in the garage and even gigging. And one of the most important things for that was being able to carry it in one hand. The HT1R is ridiculously small and light, and the HT5R is there's some weight to it, but it's still perfectly manageable. And with regards to the size, the HT1R is probably one of the smallest combo amps that you can get that still sounds good. And the HT5R will still fit on top of a bedroom cupboard or on the floor without taking up too much of a footprint. Blackstar have made the size of the HT1R achievable by putting an 8-inch speaker in there, whereas the 5 has a 12-inch speaker, which for me is the standard size for guitar speakers, generally speaking. That means that you're going to lose a little bit of fullness in the sound with the 1R, and the 5R does sound bigger in both senses of volume and spread and frequencies. But I think that by putting an 8-inch speaker in the one, Blackstar have made a great compromise. Both of these amps also feature a speaker out, so you can plug into a bigger cab and get louder and fatter. This one might not be on everyone's list at first, but it is one of the most important features to me, and I look for it on every amp that I play through, because it means I don't actually have to add an external reverb pedal. Even if the reverb is not fantastic, it's better to play a little bit wet than completely dry. I just find it more inspiring. One of the best ways to get the most out of your practice sessions is to play with either a metronome or even better, a backing track. Or if you're learning a song, playing along with the original song. Both of these amps have an auxiliary in, so you can plug your phone or tablet in and it will come out of the speaker or out of the headphones if you've got headphones plugged in, so you can jam along to your heart's content. If you're into home recording or you just want to track your progress by recording yourself and comparing it to previous recordings, then you'll be happy to know the Blackstar amps have USB connectivity with an audio interface, so you can record direct to your computer, or you could just take the line out of the headphone socket. And one of my favorite features of the recording part of these amps is cab rig, meaning that when you plug in and record, there's an emulation which sounds like you're miking up cabs, and you can select from 1x12s and 2x12s and 4x12s, and you can really lose yourself in tweaking. I don't know about you, but when I play an amp, sometimes I like to play clean, and sometimes I like to have a bit of drive on there. So for me, a very important feature of a small home amp is to have clean and drive. And yes, they both have it, although they do it in slightly different ways. The HT5R has a tone control for the clean channel and 3-band EQ for the overdrive channel, whereas the HT1R just has a tone control that's shared by both channels. Although both amps do have that voice switch, so you get 4 sounds in total. When I first started gigging, I didn't have any pedals, but I did have an overdrive channel on my amp, so I had a friend sit at the back of the stage and manually switch the channels from clean to overdrive, which was a lot of fun and I'm sure enjoyable for my friend. But using a foot switch is probably more efficient and, well, doesn't upset your friend so much. So both amps here can use a foot switch. This was the one that comes with the HT5R. With the HT1R, you don't get a foot switch, but this is compatible, so you can switch between the clean and the overdrive channel, and you can also switch the voices. And the last feature I think is important for a decent home amp is to be affordable. And that word is different for many people. For some people, this is far too expensive. For some people, this is a mere drop in the ocean. At time of filming, the HT5R is currently 50% more expensive than the HT1R. And I'm hoping that this video will stay relevant for a while. So rather than mention pricing, I'll put links to the prices in the video description and first comment. However, you should know that this is not what I would call budget territory. It is still a chunk of change. But if you absolutely have to have a small tube amp with features that are normally reserved for digital and solid state amps, then there are a few out on the market that will do what the Blackstar HT1R and HT5R will do at this price point. Now, to keep this video completely honest and transparent, I'm going to put some opinions in here because even though I dig both of these amps and I think they're great solutions for home amplifiers with tubes, there are some things that I think are missing. And number one, top of that list, is Bluetooth. Neither of these amps have Bluetooth, and even though you can plug your phone in with the cable, I've become accustomed to the convenience of just pressing a button on my phone and voila, we are connected. They don't have them for reasons that are probably surprising to a few of you. It's not the fact that Bluetooth costs an extra $10 or $5 or $2 to put in the amp. It's the legislation and rules that amplifier companies have to go through to get these legal in countries. So if you add Bluetooth to a product, you've got to suddenly do a load of paperwork to make sure that they are adhering to certain standards. And that's international, so one possibly per country. And that is what adds to the price. So if this did have Bluetooth, it would be yet again more expensive. Not because of the little Bluetooth chip, but because of the paperwork that has to be done. But you can get yourself a $10 little Bluetooth thing that you charge with USB, and you plug that into the cable, plug that into the amp, and then your amp has Bluetooth. And that is a far more convenient solution than paying another $100 for the amp. The second thing I'm not so keen on is the low gain drive sound. It has a great rock sound, a passable high gain sound, and suitable for sort of earlier metal maybe, and the clean sounds are great. However, when you get that in-between edge of breakup sound, it starts to sound a bit plasticky. But you can, of course, add a pedal to it on the clean channel, giving you the breakup you need. So get yourself a cheap clon or something, and that should do it. And the final thing, which is only talking about the HT1R, is that one doesn't have an effects loop, which I know is a big ask due to the size and everything. And the HT5R does have an effects loop. And that means that if you've got any delay or reverb pedals, you can put them in that effects loop and still get the crunch from the front of the amp without having a crunchy reverb or delay. So yes, that's asking a lot, and I don't expect it to be in there, but it would have been super cool if it was. So I hope that's helped you decide which one of these amps to choose, and if not, let me summarize it for you. The HT5R is the bigger, louder, slightly more expensive version, and if you need those features and have the money, then that's the one to go for. However, if space is limited or your budget does not stretch to the HT5R, don't discount the HT1R. It's still a great sounding amp. And if you're only going to be using it for recording, you can get pretty much the same sound out of the USB via this and still have tubes in your signal chain. And even further, there are head versions of these available, which are cheaper and more portable still. One thing I've left out of this list, so we can add it as a bonus number 11, is that if your home amp is one of your first amps, or maybe your actual first amp, it shouldn't be too complicated. And even though these amps have a lot of features in them, they're still pretty simple to use. And there are other amps out on the market which I love dearly, like the new Spark 2 and the Boss Katana series. They are fantastic amps. However, they can be a little bit daunting. And don't forget that if you're brand new to guitar, you might wonder what all that does. If you just want to plug in, play, and then still have some more functionality, these are a great choice. If you want more information and up-to-date pricing on these amps, there are links in the video description and first comment. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!